Hello there, my name is James Richard Campbell. I am the CEO and Editor-in-Chief of the Aero-News Network, the original aerospace and aviation news service, the first to bring you 24/7, 365 aviation news online through both online auspices, audio and video, and to all extents and purposes, the preeminent aviation news service that started what has become a phenomenal industry and a phenomenal resource for all of the aviation world. But before that, a long time ago, I ran a simple little aviation magazine called US Aviator. It was one of the joys of my life. It was heavily oriented toward general and sport aviation. And as an adjunct to that, we produced both a first edition and a second edition of something that became the SportPlane Resource Guide. At that time, there was a burgeoning kit aircraft industry, there was a burgeoning experimental industry, there was a very healthy ultralight industry, and a lot of people were finding their way into aviation the only way they could really afford to, or for that matter, to get the airplane the way they wanted, the type that they wanted, and most important, the value that they wanted, by building it themselves or by working through companies and so forth that could craft what they needed for them outside of the normal bounds of certification. The SportPlane Resource Guide was a resounding success. Tens of thousands of copies were produced, and we heard from thousands of people who were empowered by those guides to build their own airplanes, buy their own airplanes, fly their own airplanes, own their own airplanes, and ultimately, down the line, get more out of the sport aviation experience than ever before. Okay, this particular video is addressed to you in the SportPlane industry. We're trying to produce the third edition of the SportPlane Resource Guide. This time it'll be an ebook, and the marvelous thing about ebooks is that we can update this thing on the fly in a matter of days and maintain more current, more valuable, and more solid information than ever before. We love the old SportPlane guides, but by the time they were printed, they were outmoded. So with ebooks, we now have the ability to produce phenomenal resources in real time and update it as often as is necessary to keep people not only informed and educated, but satisfied that they have the best information at their disposal. Our goals with the SportPlane Resource Guide is to give a real shot in the arm to an industry that needs it. We're targeting specifically LSA, but we're not abandoning ultralight, we're not abandoning high-performance experimentals, we're not abandoning rotorcraft, we're not abandoning four-seaters and things of that nature. We're putting the emphasis on where the excitement and the entry level is, but believe me, we've got an awful lot of material that's going to be going in above and beyond LSA. But if you're in the experimental business, if you're in the LSA business, if you're in the SportPlane business, you need to right now get in touch with us. You need to become part of the SportPlane Resource Guide series, and you need to partner up with us in no uncertain terms to get your information out to all of our readers and our people. Because think about this. What do you take to qualify a customer? What do you take to qualify an interested prospect? Well, I'll tell you one thing you can do. When somebody's taken the time to order a $40 book, when they've taken the time to go through it, when they've taken the time to ask questions, when they've specifically chosen a book with this kind of information, and if they decide that your company and your product, based on the information that we're able to present with your cooperation, is what they want, that's a prospect. And more important, it's a good, solid possibility of a sale. We need information from you. We need to put together two sets of surveys, one that talks about your company and your background and the focus of what you're trying to do, and then one survey each for each of your individual products. If you have a specific type of aircraft and a variation of it, let us know, but in each particular instance, because we want each type to stand on its own. Now, over the next 6 months, we're going to be beating the bushes to try to put together these surveys. John Lennon is going to be running our survey program for us. We've got a number of experts from throughout the industry that love it, support it, and know that it has great places to go. First of all, first point of contact, SPRG at aero-news.net. That's the email that gets you started. Get in touch with us right away. Let us know who and what you are, what you've got, what's going on, so we can get survey data to you. More information, the better. We need pictures, we need stats, we need data, we need everything that you can present, because the more information we have to work with, the more potential we have of being able to fully document the products and the capabilities your products have, so that people from throughout the industry will get a chance to find out how cool your aircraft can be. Now, keep in mind one thing here. Aircraft are the emphasis, but for those of you supporting with avionics, those of you supporting with engines, those of you supporting with all kinds of accessories, we have specific directories for accessories, specific directories for avionics, specific directories for engines, and lots and lots and lots of how-to chapters. Everything from how to select an electrical system to how to fly a tail dragger, you name it, we got it. We've got dozens of them. Make sure that you support us with as much information as possible, and more important than anything else, be a part of this process in helping us present as much information as possible to excite, to inform, to educate, and more important than anything else, bring people back into the mix. I don't have to tell you what's happened to aviation over the last few years, but the thing that we have found out more than anything else is the more information you provide people to inform them, excite them, to compel them to come into aviation, the better off we are. Let me leave you with this. Over the years, tens of thousands of SportPlane guides have got into people's hands. In that same time, we heard from literally thousands of people who told us they made their buying decision based on the phenomenal amount of information we were able to put in their hands to arm them, to empower them, to excite them, to compel them to become part of the aviation industry, to become SportPlane pilots and owners. You need to be a part of that. You need to get in touch with us right now. You need to make sure that you are working as hard as you possibly can to get as much information to the SportPlane Resource Guide series so that your products can achieve the notice, the understanding, and most important, the eyeballs that they need to be able to get your product into people's hands. Let us know. SPRG at aero-news.net, and shortly a support site at www.sportplane.com. For the Aero-News Network, Aero-TV, Airborne, and of course the SportPlane Resource Guide, I'm Jim Campbell, and I'm hoping that we together can give a real shot in the arm to a segment of the industry that really needs new blood, a little bit more hope, a lot more understanding, and more important than anything else, comprehension that the SportPlane industry is one of the most exciting things a person can do with their time, their resources, their money, and their lives.